Okay, and this brings us to the TREC conference of information retrieval systems that I mentioned earlier. TREC has different tracks, so you can test retrieval systems that specialize in different retrieval tasks or different types of information systems. TREC uses the test collection model by taking what's called a pooled sample, which accounts for each information system's sort of algorithmic assessment of what constitutes a relevant or irrelevant document, and then that's double checked by human relevance assessors, and then the pooled sample is fed back into the test collection. At the TREC conference, every system and every track runs its own algorithm on the same collection. So what's being tested are the algorithms. Then the test collection is basically a collection of documents, queries, and relevance assessments, and each algorithm is run in this environment. Then the metrics are calculated. So the TREC people come up with the queries. Then before the conference, they hire lots of people to act as human relevance assessors. The assessors, who are not competitives or information retrieval specialists, they read the topics to which the queries pertain and the query themselves. Then they decide whether each document in the collection is relevant or irrelevant to the topic. They aren't judging relevance to the query, they're judging relevance to the topic, which represents the information need. So then, each algorithm is run in the test collection, and whomever's algorithm scores the highest wins. But everyone who plays gets a free trial to run an onerous and expensive evaluation test on their algorithms. If you're interested in TREC, it's a possible topic for a 670 project paper. I can also point you to some faculty here at the iSchool who have participated in TREC before and really know the ins and outs of how it works. Now, we're briefly going to look at the other side of these performance measures. Like I was saying earlier, there are some scenarios when you want to emphasize recall and some when you want to emphasize precision. So I'll show you here a few searching techniques for improving each. First of all, if you want to improve recall, your first tool is to use the Boolean OR during query formulation. This allows you to search for synonyms to identify the same or nearly same concept. So in the example here, you want to see documents that contain the terms racism or discrimination or prejudice or racial bias or bigotry. Those are all different terms that refer to similar phenomena. So you can cover all your bases by checking documents that have any of these words in them. Another way to improve recall is to use hierarchical expansion. In databases that have thesauri, you can hierarchically expand to include in your query any terms that are narrower than the focal term. So if you chose to hierarchically expand discrimination, then all narrower terms of discrimination would be included with an OR into the search. So it would be like discrimination or racial discrimination or gender discrimination or so on and so forth. Another way to improve recall is to search on multiple systems. There might be articles about racial discrimination in different types of database, like SocIndex is about sociology. LexisNexis might have news articles about discrimination, and PsycInfo has articles about psychology and might include the psychology of racial discrimination. Lastly, you can use a thesaurus to help you identify possible synonyms to put into your OR search. So how can you search to improve precision? Again, if you want to improve precision, that means you want to focus on a clean and relevant result set. You don't want to see many irrelevant results in your list. If you want to use query construction, you can use the Boolean AND. For instance, you could search for discrimination and racial, or you could search for if you wanted to find out about racial discrimination in a certain city, you could say racial discrimination and Washington, D.C. So instead of having to look at all articles about racial discrimination and to visually find the ones that are about discrimination in Washington, D.C., if you put both of those terms into your query with the AND, you're going to get fewer results, and all of the results will include the term racial discrimination and the term Washington, D.C. You could also use the Boolean NOT, When I worked with a history teacher who was searching for information about pogroms before the Nazi era, he started with a search on the term pogroms. But since this was a Holocaust related database, the results were flooded with documents about pogroms that happened under Nazi rule. There were two pogroms in particular that were discussed a lot. One was called Kristallnacht, and the other were the November pogroms. So he used the Boolean not to search for pogroms, not Kristallnacht, and not November. And this narrowed his results enough that he was able to find what he was looking for near the top of the list. Another way to improve precision is field-specific searching, which means telling the database that you want words in your queries to be searched only in certain fields or metadata elements. Of course, this feature is only available in certain databases, but it can be very useful. And of course, a thesaurus can help you improve precision, because if there are many possible ways to express a concept, like we saw with racial discrimination, a thesaurus can tell which term is used by indexers, and it can give you scope notes, which are brief definitions that describe in what cases a term is used by indexers. So if users consult thesauri, they are literally getting on the same page and getting the same definition as the indexers who describe the collection. It's a really powerful tool. So that concludes the lecture for tonight. Next week, you're going to take your midterm, which you will also take remotely. I will distribute the midterm by email as a Word document at exactly, I promise, 5:30 p.m. On next Thursday. And you will have until 11:59 p.m. Sunday night to work on the midterm. The syllabus had originally said that you would have to do the midterm in 48 hours by 11:59 p.m. Saturday night, but that has been extended to Sunday night. Keep in mind, the exam is designed to be able to be taken within the span of time of a regular class period. And I used to, during regular class period, most people performed just fine and submitted their exams. But every semester that I did that, there were always, 3 or 4 students, or maybe 3, who really struggled with the time constraint and would get that test anxiety, all of that. In this case, I don't particularly want to be testing your ability to take time tests, although that is an important skill to have in grad school. So I'm giving you more time to take the test, but I don't necessarily suggest that you take all of the time. You can end up second guessing yourself and providing way too much information and perhaps going too far with your answers. So feel free to ask questions about tonight's lecture or anything on the message boards or by email over the next week pertaining to the midterm or this lecture in particular. And I will be in touch with you guys over the course of the week if any details come up. Good night.